What is going on, my friends, and welcome back to the Crypto Catch Up. Of course, your number one place to catch up on crypto. Now, we got all types of news hitting the market right now, a bunch of changes, a bunch of good things happening that I want to talk to you all about today. We're seeing some interesting stuff from the charts, some interesting stuff from the fundamentals, so we're going to have a full-blown catch-up session really quickly, and of course, I hope you guys do enjoy. And so with that said, let's not waste any more time at all, and let's get started. Now, let's structure today's video first and foremost talking about what's happening with Bitcoin's price, then we're going to talk about what's happening from a fundamental perspective, then we're gonna get into the news, baby, because things are getting spicy. So looking at Bitcoin's price first and foremost, things are looking pretty damn good. In the last video, I told you all that I am a little bit cautious of Bitcoin's price in the short term. We're seeing some bearish divergence forming here on the chart. We are getting implications and warnings that some sort of pullback could be on the way, and I still do feel that way. What we can see here from that 4-hour RSI is that we are seeing this thing trend downwards after entering into this overbought zone. And typically speaking, when you see the RSI trending downwards but your price trending upwards, it usually does correlate to some sort of more midterm pullback on the way. Even if in this instance we do get a quick melt up, I do expect that some sort of maybe ABC correction for Bitcoin could very likely happen, especially if we don't get any more news or anything along those lines. You can see here also from the 4-hour charts from more of a macro perspective, we got that higher high on the price, but we are getting the lower high here on the RSI, both of which do imply that we are seeing this thing somewhat overextended and losing momentum, both of which, in both of those instances, we could very easily see Bitcoin's price pull to the downside. Now, overall, I've told you all, though, I don't care if it pulls back. It doesn't make a difference. We are above this channel. We have 10% between us and re-entering in this channel. I don't believe that would happen. Even if Bitcoin's price does pull to the downside and maybe start revisiting this ascending level of support here, totally fine by me. I do think that overall, the grand scheme of things, we're going to see Bitcoin trend upwards. So even if this thing does pull back in the short term, not a big deal to me. We did break us through, all of these key points of resistance. We broke through this channel. The door is wide open to $85,000, $90,000. It's just a matter of when at this point, not a matter of if anymore. So overall, my position does still remain the same on this. I do think in the midterm, or more in the micro, I would say, over the next couple of days, next couple of weeks, we're it's very possible to see this thing either cool down or see a pullback, but it's not a big deal at the end of the day. I'm not too worried about it. Now, while we are talking about the technicals, guys, I will let you know, I did just recently work out an insane deal with BTTC. This is an exchange I was doing some trading on recently. I was like, you know what, let's work out a deal. And so with that in mind, currently the deal is that you will get 10% back on all deposits above $500 if you do sign up with my link down below. Guys, this means if you deposit $2,000, hypothetically, you're getting $200 back, boom, just like that. A 10% return in this day and age is ridiculous. So go check that out. On top of that, you're going to get up to $10,000 in bonuses and rewards. You're also going to get an SVIP1, which gives you 40% lower trading fees because you are using my link down below. Guys, take advantage of that. I have been doing a ton of trading over on their platform recently, and you can actually trade Bitcoin on up to 500x leverage. Although I don't recommend 500x leverage, you can trade it up to 500x leverage, and you don't need to KYC. This isn't a KYC based platform. There are features that are KYC unlocked, but you don't have to sign up, start trading, etc. So feel free to go check that out down below. That's a ridiculous deal. That's a ridiculous deal. Go take advantage of that down below. Now, overall, looking at that, now let's transfer into the fundamentals a little bit and get an idea of what's going on here. Well, from a crypto fear and greed index perspective, we are seeing things somewhat stable. People always talk about, well, we're in greed, and so since we're in greed, that's not good. And although I typically would agree, one thing that I've come to realize in my general thesis on the crypto fear and greed index is I'm starting to believe it's a lot less about where we are and more about where we've been recently. So what I mean by that is in moments in which we do see this thing stabilize, it's really not that scary, whether it's to the top side or to the bottom side. But it's the moments in which we jump fast from fear to greed to fear to greed. The volatility of the crypto fear and greed index is really much more indicative of what's going to happen, much less and much less than the actual score itself. Now, the general score itself can be somewhat of a good metric and a good tool to just understand how people feel in general. But when I'm thinking about what I actually think the market's going to do, I'm usually basing it more off of the volatility of the crypto fear and greed index. So when we go straight from, fear straight up to greed, that's when I get nervous. But if we stabilize in the greed zone for a little while, there are instances in which we will just see this market continuously running. I mean, look at how long we stayed in the greed zone from October all the way to January from 2023 to 2024, and this market continuously just trended upwards. That's totally fine. But the moment volatility started hitting, that's when shit got crazy, and that's what scares me more. And so even though we are pretty high into the greed zone, I'm not all that concerned about it because we have been rather stable, especially for the last few weeks. Again, if you go look at this, you can see that stability here. We've been stable here since October 16th, realistically, so not too concerned, and I do think this could allow us to continue upwards. Now, as a result of people being greedy, we definitely have noticed, though, that people are leaning more in the favor of entering in on long trades and closing their short trades. The majority of people in the market right now are bullish. They are expecting this market to move upwards. It seems like they're somewhat ignoring the possibility of a pullback here, and that does concern me a little bit. If you're going long right now, you're taking a big risk, and so because of that, with people going long right now, I definitely do kind of feel as if this market could be in a bit of a risky spot, especially in the short term. And then when you mix in the fact that on your liquidation map, there are this many liquidations that will happen around $74,000 to $76,000 or $75,000, I definitely feel, again, like based off of the fundamentals as well, that some sort of short-term pullback could be on the way to liquidate a lot of those people before this market tries to continue upwards. But as I mentioned before in the technical analysis segment, I don't care if it pulls back here. It's not a big deal. We have all this room to the downside. It's fine. If they want to go liquidate all those people who are being overly bullish, go liquidate them. It is what it is. You should know better at this given point. And so because of that, kind of looking at the fundamentals here, I still do believe this market is a little bit risky, I think, in the short term. But in the grand scheme of things, you go look at your liquidation heat map model too. We are looking good. We smashed through those liquidations that I've been telling you about, and there are still liquidations above us. I think most of these people are going to end up getting liquidated at some point, and I do believe that to be the case. I think it's much more likely that we continue to push up higher than we go lower at this point. So the macro still looks beautiful. Just in the short term, it's looking a little bit more sketchy to me, in my opinion. I think next week possibly could be a bit of an ugly week if we do start to see some of those people getting liquidated and this market somewhat consolidating off a bit. So that's kind of where I'm looking at in the short term on your technicals, in the short term on your fundamentals. But guys, please do remember, and I know I keep emphasizing this, but it's very important. I am so bullish right now because of the intrinsic value that's being injected into the world of crypto, that although this is the case and although it's a possibility, it really doesn't even matter to me right now, because my macro thesis is substantially outweighing my micro thesis that a pullback or a cool down can happen. So please don't take this the wrong way. I'm not selling any of my crypto. I've taken a little bit of profit off some short-term trades. Outside of that, I'm letting this baby ride because I truly, again, believe that 90K, 100K is destiny at this point. Maybe not this year, but at some given point rather soon. And so because of that, that's my general overviews. Now, with that in mind, let's get into the news. The news is always my favorite part, so let's get into the news. So we got some news. Almost $2 billion has flowed into Bitcoin ETFs since Trump election victory just 2 days ago. Now, I personally believe that this is only going to grow. Now, it's not going to be consistent, right? We're not going to see 1 billion, 5 billion, 10 billion. It's not how it's going to be. But I do believe we are going to start to consistently see more and more people entering through these ETFs. And the reason being, tell me if you agree with me, but when I think about institutions and people who are investing into Bitcoin via ETFs, these are typically people who are either playing it safe, or these are people who are playing it based off of, more of a I don't want to deal with it perspective. Where, like, some people, of course, are getting Bitcoin ETFs through their retirement accounts and things like that, where they have an investment advisor who's making these trades for them. There's things of this nature, right? Or they're just institutions who don't want to have to deal with it. They just try to let Blackrock deal with it and pay them a fee. You get the point. But when I think about people like that, I think about people who are going to be much more adamant on following the rules and doing things based off of regulatory landscapes, right? So in a scenario in which, hypothetically, say Bitcoin is under a lot of scrutiny and there's a lot of pressure, the government doesn't like it, they're putting big legislation out and regulating it like crazy, I would imagine that the people who would invest in a Bitcoin via ETFs would do it a lot less. Right? So if that is the case, the opposite of that has to be in a landscape in which regulation is getting better, legislation is getting better, and it's becoming more crypto friendly. Almost half of the freaking Congress is now in a pro crypto stance. It has to then increase to more people buying through ETFs. That's my thought process. Let me know if you agree with me down below, but that's my thought process, and that's why I do think that we are seeing these things increase. Now, as a result of this bad boy increasing, let me find my piece of news here. We just saw BlackRock's Bitcoin ETF surpass its gold ETF in assets in just 10 months. iShares Bitcoin Trust ETF net assets of fund 33 billion. We go look at the gold one, 32 billion. Will it hold? I don't know. I don't care. I just want to talk a little bit of shit. That is insane. To do that in just 10 months is insane. And again, I do believe that as legislation and regulations get better, that we are going to see this only increase. This just goes to show that when everybody says that Bitcoin can be the same market cap as gold one day, it's maybe not so far-fetched. It's a little far-fetched. It feels a little far-fetched right now. Don't get me wrong. Even I feel that way. But it's not so far-fetched anymore, because these types of things are early implications that it's possible. Big news. It's big news right there. Even bigger news. SEC Commissioner Mark Uyeda. We're going to go for that. Uyeda. The commission's war on crypto must end. At the same time, SEC Commissioner Hester Pierce wants to lead crypto task force to reevaluate the agency's approach to the industry. Now, I know some of these people in the SEC have been much more pro-crypto. Don't get me wrong. Not everyone in the SEC is bad. Not everyone in the SEC has been doing all of these things. But. It's crazy how the tune's been changing recently since Trump's been elected, because they know what's up. Trump has said over and over and over again, if I get put in office, I'm going to deregulate. What that means is a lot of these different commissions that have been funded by the government that have over and abused their fucking powers are going to start seeing some repercussions soon. And now it's interesting that we're starting to see the tune change from some of these commissions. I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I think that's funny shit right there. And so because of that, I thought that was interesting. I wanted to share it with you. Now, we actually do have a video from Mark Uyeda where he is talking a little bit in depth about this. And I want to go ahead and play this for you because I do think it's interesting to hear his stance on it, because if he is going to be the next chair of the SEC, it is good to hear his position. So let's go ahead and give this a quick little listen real quick.
We have been setting this.
Mark Uyeda. Mark, it's great to have you this morning. Thanks for being here.
Well, it's great to be here.
What is the SEC doing regarding crypto?
Well, I think our policies and our approach for the last several years have been just really a disaster for the whole industry. We have been setting this policy through enforcement. We've done nothing to provide guidance on it. And as a result, this is being shaped by the courts. And different courts have ruled different ways. I think what this Wells notice is, and while I won't comment on the specifics of this litigation, the Wells, what has gone on is part of a broader frustration with the fact that we have not provided interpretive guidance as to what you can and cannot do. And if you are involved in some sort of securities offering, how you register, how you get regulated as a broker-dealer, how you get registered as an exchange.
And you say moving forward.
So as you can see, I mean, primarily what he's saying is that what they've done has been absolutely just disastrous. And the primary thing isn't the fact that they do believe certain things are securities. It's that they're not providing any guidance. They're not providing any clarity as to what people can and cannot do. And by doing that, you're killing the liquidity. You're killing innovation because nobody wants to deal with you. Nobody wants to run into no problems. They want to mind their business. So by doing this, you're pushing all of this innovation to other countries and to other places, or you're forcing it underground, limiting the scalability, limiting the growth, the expansion. It's not good. It's terrible. And now, in an environment in which we have over half of, or nearly half of the Congress pro-crypto, we have a pro-crypto president, we're going to have pro-crypto people around the president and his association. Now we're going to start to see that clarity that we're looking for. And you remember earlier when I told you that I'm under the belief that in a more pro-crypto environment, you're going to see the ETFs do better. I think once we do get this clarity, I think that it's going to open up the door not only for more liquidity into these ETFs, but more ETFs, and more ETFs that are also focused on altcoins, which is going to blow shit out of proportion. And so because of that, overall, some fantastic news. The fact that we are now starting to see this change of tune, this little bit of a difference within the SEC and things like that is absolutely massive. And I do believe that that is going to, again, open up the door for way more liquidity, way more volume, way more hype, way more excitement. Imagine seeing all this and not thinking that Bitcoin is going to get to 100K. It's a matter of when, in my opinion. Again, it's a matter of when. So overall, I wanted to catch you up on everything that's happened over the last 24 hours. Some beautiful stuff. There actually was some other news that I want to make a full video about because I do think it's interesting. So stay tuned for another video later today. And don't forget, if you do want to trade some crypto yourself and get 10% back immediately, a 10% return on all deposits up above $500, as well as up to $10,000 per user and an SVIP code for 40% lower trading fees, check out that BTTC link down in the description below. And I can't wait to see you all in the next one. Peace out, everybody.